Back, everybody. My name's Token D Rock here with another stream. Hopefully, all of you are having a wonderful day. It is Thursday, December 15th, 9:14 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you're watching us live, crypto market cap has fallen just a bit, sitting at $879 billion. Bitcoin dominance 38.3%, ETH 17.8%, Bitcoin breaking below 17,500. We've seen a little bit of some sell pressure on Bitcoin here in the past 12 to 24 hours after rallying up as high as 18K. ETH sitting at 1273, BNB at 263, Dogecoin 8.7 cents, Cardano just above 30 cents, Matic sitting at 88.8 cents, Polkadot at 522, Chainlink 657, pardon me, Cosmos 959. Taking a look at the charts for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it looks like we are potentially going lower for the day. Taking a look at a smaller time frame, this is when the market opened, roughly speaking. And since then, we've just kind of been bleeding a bit. Are we potentially forming the right shoulder before we go lower? Again, stock market and crypto did rally yesterday with Jerome Powell's decision of only doing a 50 basis point rate hike. So you can see Bitcoin came up to roughly 18,400, got rejected, and since then has been on a downwards trajectory. Went as low as roughly 17,400. So right here's roughly $1,000 swing from this high to this low. Again, will the bulls hold this line of support? Is this potentially the right shoulder before we go lower? Time will tell. As you can see here in past few hours, Bitcoin was oversold briefly. You could have scooped Bitcoin again as low as 17,400. You had a limit order. Not a great look for Bitcoin on the daily chart either. I think it's only a matter of time before we retest these lows. First, we got to retest this range down here, retest this range. So I don't know if you guys see these wicks, but this wick in particular right here on Monday, December 5th, is serving as a line of support for Bitcoin right now. If this breaks lower, we can see potentially $17,200 Bitcoin, potentially even 16,800, and then from there, these lower price points are fair game. So you need to pay attention to that. Again, Dow Jones Industrial Average, or sorry, DXY US dollar currency index is seems to be again still kind of in a downtrend. If this spinning top turns green and we start seeing a rally out of this, we could potentially see um, lower and lower prices out of the stock market as well as Bitcoin and crypto by and large. Headed over to Twitter for some news. 5 years ago today, Bitcoin topped out at $20,000. Just let that sink in. We are below the all-time high price set back in 2017. So again, nothing too shabby. I would like to accumulate some more Bitcoin, 15, 14, 13, even 10K. But I think it's just a matter of time before we go lower. Just in, hundreds of merchants are now accepting Bitcoin in Switzerland's city of Lugano. Adoption is growing, even amidst all the fears and FUD concerning crypto as a whole. Bitcoin is growing stronger. TEPCO, Japan's largest power company, is now mining Bitcoin. They are beginning with a 1.5 megawatt pilot project. Very, very cool. Glad to see more and more countries hopping on board with the whole idea of mining Bitcoin. They're basically preparing themselves for the future. Uh, it's a fact that countries who position themselves and align themselves with Bitcoin will succeed much more so than countries who outright banned cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. These sats are free heat with Bitcoin. So essentially, this Bitcoin miner, from the heat that it's emitting, this person, Dennis Porter, is able to essentially heat their apartment or heat up a room, a part of their apartment, which is pretty cool. Again, kind of showing the multi-purpose of Bitcoin miners. The other day we showed you that a Bitcoin miner was being used to heat a room full of tulips. So that was kind of cool. Did you know you can buy Bitcoin straight to your custody with Strike? Only way you have ever have custody over your Bitcoin. Here's how: scan/paste your Bitcoin address. Um, Enter the amount you want to buy. We want you to hold your coins. Your keys equals your coins. I need to try this out myself. I haven't used Strike. I've been meaning to, but maybe I'll work up the courage to try it sometime this weekend, or potentially when prices do go lower. Almost 2,000 Bitcoin are being withdrawn from Binance every single hour. Let that sink in. More and more people learning the value of not your keys, not crypto. The ECB, or the European Central Bank, chose Bitcoin's encryption standard for its CBDC prototype. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Again, guys, sorry if I'm sipping tea here, blowing my nose once in a while. I have to do this. I'm getting better from a sickness. I definitely think I'm in the last like 2-3 days of this, but regardless, back to the news. Australia to launch new cryptocurrency regulation framework in 2023 to modernize finance system. It's according to Jim Chalmers, the Australian treasurer over in Australia. Don't store your crypto on crypto.com, Binance, Huobi, KuCoin, Bybit, Bitfinex, Coinbase, Polynex, MEXC, Gate, or any other centralized exchange. Who is paying me to FUD your favorite exchange now? There was speculation that this account was just fudding the crap out of particular exchanges, but it seems like they're pretty, pretty. What's it called? They're not picking any favorites from what I can read. PayPal partners with MetaMask to integrate new crypto services. Pretty big, but again, there's still a bunch of fear and uncertainty and doubt regarding Ethereum. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin is engineered to be stable, robust, and increasingly secure and efficient over time based on proof of work and ASIC technology advances. Proof of stake protocols are inherently unstable, inefficient, opaque, and risky due to their fragile design. Will Ethereum break like Terra Luna? Is the question. Here we have a guy saying Ethereum is doomed.
You have some very, very big concerns.
You build something on it that works for a year or a few, but you'll get rugged like Facebook rubbed Zynga. You might clock some fiat gains trading it, but you can't hold it long term because ETH deserves no monetary premium.
Regarding Ethereum, you recently
I'll let the clip
tweeted
play.
a meme, and basically the meme calls Buterin the long con prince. What do you mean by that?
Ethereum is a long con. This thing is sort of broken theoretically from the beginning, trying to pack way too much functionality into a layer one protocol. Bitcoin is the internet of money. So if you think about that being layer one, the Lightning Network being layer two, we'll see other layers develop on top of it. And that's how protocols and distributed network architecture actually works. Ethereum tried to create way too much functionality at the base layer. All proof of stake networks are doomed from the start. It's subject to politics and it's subject to controls, and it's just sort of centralizing over time.
And that's the thing. They've proven that Ethereum is very pro OFAC, so meaning they're going to be censoring certain ideas, certain protocols on the blockchain if they have enough stakers voting for that. And as we've seen, a lot of big money owns a crap ton of Ethereum. So that's definitely a concern, and I think I enjoyed the way this man presented the information. Look at all that Bitcoin being used for illicit transactions. We should ban it to protect our national security. And that's this is just making fun of the whole commentary slash rhetoric that, oh, Bitcoin is the only it's so bad it's used for illicit activities. It's like, well, again, we've talked about this several times. Like, Bitcoin can be traced on the blockchain, so if you were doing illicit activities with Bitcoin, you're pretty stupid because it can be traced and tracked. Meanwhile, no one can track cash, so makes it the perfect medium for illicit activities to occur. SBF diverted FTX customer funds to donate to political campaigns per federal authorities. We kind of went over this. Um, Jim Cramer says we need to out the congressmen and women who were owned by SBF. Wholeheartedly agree. Being in bed with Sam Bankman-Fried is not a good look. Dot dot dot. Good article. Gary Gensler's PR stunts can't hide how he botched crypto regulation. It's pretty crazy because we know that Gary Gensler worked so closely with Sam Bankman-Fried for months on end. Yet he had no idea the company was insolvent or fraudulent. Anyone else think this is a bit odd? I agree, Leia. And here we have KJP being asked, will the president return the donation from Sam Bankman-Fried or FTX? Because as we all know, Sam Bankman-Fried was, I believe, the biggest donor to the Biden campaign, besides I think George Soros or something like that. So and as we all know now, a lot of the funds that was used illegally to fund political campaigns, particularly like 95 to 99% just Democrat, were was illegal, and they were using customer funds and arguably potentially have been using taxpayer dollars via the aid that went to Ukraine. Now I can't prove this at this time. They still need to investigate a bit further, but there's a lot of dots that are connecting that kind of make that a real possibility. So, kind of interesting that she answers, "I'm covered here by the Hatch Act," because they know that we know that they know, kind of that whole phrase. U.S. Senator Warren stepping up and introducing a bill to KYC self custody Bitcoin wallets. Scary precedent. It's going to surveil users and crack down on privacy tools. Direct attack on freedom and privacy. But her record isn't too great with getting bills to pass. In her decade as a senator, Elizabeth Warren has introduced 315 bills. Only one has been enacted into law. That's a 0.32% success rate. Unfortunately, I think this bill, I do think it will be shot down. Fingers crossed. Unfortunately, I do think this may potentially join that success rate. Be one of the bills that joins the success rate. So need to be careful with what with how we basically go about telling our politicians what we specifically want, because remember, these politicians are supposed to represent you and I, not the other way around. So they need to listen to their constituents and what their constituents want and vote um, as such. Senator Loomis from Wyoming saying Warren's bill requiring KYC on self-custody Bitcoin wallets is going to fail. I certainly hope so. Yesterday, Cynthia Loomis, same woman right here, said what FTX did was separate from digital assets. FTX was fraud, whether it was conducted in dollars or euros or digital assets. FTX was failure of people and safeguards. It was not a failure of technology. I'll link this tweet in the description if you want to watch the whole clip. She goes off and basically schools the people in the hearing about what FTX was doing and how it's differentiated from the rest of the crypto space, and how we shouldn't be, going forward trying to get KYC on self custody Bitcoin wallets. Like, Warren is on a power trip, like many other politicians. So we need to keep these politicians in check. Here we have Kevin O'Leary saying Binance put FTX out of business.
Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now. They put FTX out of business.
And that's BS, because FTX stole money and got caught. It's really that simple. But he's salty. He's still licking his wounds because he lost a few billion, um, stupidly trusting Sam, even though there were many red flags that other people saw. Binance CEO CZ warns bumpy road ahead in messages to his staff. What could this potentially mean? He also says 99% of people will lose crypto storing in self custody. According to CZ, he says holding your own crypto in your wallet is not risk free. He said this in a Twitter Spaces just yesterday. What could he be meaning by this? Is there something more to the story? Jim Cramer says he feels reassured by Binance. It's like, dude, you were just on our side with the whole congressman associated with FTX being disclosed, and which politicians SBF technically owns. But now you're off your rocker again. You can never um, put too much faith in what this guy says, because usually he's wrong. But he did say that one right thing about disclosing which congressman or woman are owned by FTX. Alexander Lorenzo says, for the sake of risk management, take your funds off the Binance exchange. Agree. I did that actually 2 days ago, because I did see a tweet out there saying, oh, they're suspending USD withdrawals. So I personally got a bit scared and did my own due diligence, did some risk management, and took my funds off of there, my Bitcoin and my USD. Inflation is financial terrorism. It must be stopped. Hashtag Bitcoin. Just to show you how out of control inflation has gotten you guys. Back when the US dollar was backed by gold, one income in the household could provide, no college degree was required, and you could have a large family. Now, when the US dollar depegged from gold, when it went away from the gold standard, now you need two incomes to support a household. A bachelor's degree is required, master's recommended. You can't have a big family, so meaning you'll either have a smaller family or no family at all. People wake up, central bankers are stealing your time and your energy. Breaking news, one of the world's oldest and largest or biggest producers of gold bullion coins is unable to keep up with demand. Again, while countries like the US are refusing to back their currencies in gold and such, we have countries like China, Russia, and a few others buying up gold in the tons, to back up their respective currencies in gold, so that way, when things get really, really shaky, their currency won't go under, won't collapse to the same magnitude that something like the US dollar will. And we've seen more and more countries start to align themselves with said countries. So there's something to be said there. As discussed earlier, the U.S. Federal Reserve raised interest rates by 0.5% or 50 basis points to the highest level in 15 years. Pretty crazy stuff. We're going back to 2007 with the interest rates. Fed's Powell says nobody knows whether or not we will experience a recession. Yeah, just like you said, inflation was transitory, just like Janet Yellen said. Fed chair says we won't consider cutting rates until we see inflation sustaining at 2%. Well, buddy, you got a long ways to go then. I'm going to assume that there will be no rate cuts potentially in 2023 unless you guys continue the hawkish policy of doing 50, 75 basis points. Hell, I would love to see them just do 100 next meeting and just get it over with, like stop kicking the can down the road. I get it. You don't want to make anyone mad, but you're going to make a lot more people mad and a lot more people suffer if you continue this slow, slow, you know, the slow, the slow pace of rate hikes and stuff like that. Like they started way too late and now they're playing catch up. I don't think they'll ever catch up, but hopefully they continue with hawkish policy temporarily, and then in the long term maybe we'll fare a bit better. Rate futures in the US now predict a 70% chance of a 75 basis point increase at the next meeting, which I believe occurs in February. So we'll be paying attention to that as more news comes out. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says the U.S. is not in a recession. Again, they need to lie in our faces so no one gets too scared. Fed's Powell says there are no rate cuts in September in 2023. So the idea that potentially the Federal Reserve becomes dovish on their policy in quarter 3 potentially may not play out according to what Jerome Powell says, but then again, we'll see how things play out. Bulls next month saying rates definitely getting cut this time. We're finally going to see the pivot. We've been fantasizing about this whole time, and if you know anything about the Fed pivoting, the worst of recession occurs like after the Fed pivots, and then we kind of spring back up from that. But this whole idea that the Fed's about to pivot is, in my opinion, unfounded. It's really has no legitimacy, but that's up for debate. Maybe the most amazing thing about this market is the number of people who seem to believe that once the Fed pivots, people we just go right back to the 2021 bubble that we just saw. Y'all, that ain't how it works, and I agree. It's again, a lot of people still drinking the Kool-Aid, a lot of people still filled with hopium, thinking that markets are going to hit new all-time highs here in the next 2 to 3 months. I don't see it happening, but I could be wrong. What do I know? I don't have a crystal ball. US Senate, in other news, passes a bill banning TikTok on all government devices. I think this is long overdue. I'm glad that they've finally have done something like this. Like, why a senator would have a TikTok account kind of blows my mind. I don't really see why they would need it, but glad that they banned it from government devices. Here they're trying to pass through an omnibus spending bill that includes Ukraine funding along with Electoral Count Act. Thomas Massey said, "This is wrong. We should have a separate vote on additional Ukraine funding. Most of my constituents do not wish to have their money sent to Ukraine, especially not without oversight or an audit." And that's the thing. People like him don't want to have an audit of the funds being sent over there. What are they hiding? Why don't they want to audit those funds? Uh, the other day, Pentagon lost $2 trillion. It sounds pretty reminiscent of a particular date in 2001, just the day before 9/11. Pentagon lost sight of $2 trillion, and they're like, I don't know where it went. It's like, really? So we're seeing kind of history potentially repeat. Not saying there's going to be another attack like that, but weird how history has a tendency to rhyme. Germany buys 35 US made F 35 fighter jets. So we see potentially the war in Ukraine heating up. We have countries like Germany taking the necessary measures to quote unquote defend themselves from potential Russian aggression. United States are sending troops on the ground, or patriots equals Ukraine is losing the war. Hence, they need to bring better qualified troops to the battlefield. Remember that we were told that Russia would be pushed out of Ukraine, would lose Crimea, be sent back to the Stone Age. The ruble would be turned to rubble. Their military would be so devastated that they wouldn't be able to fight another war. and Putin would be removed. Yeah, remember when they said that? Well, none of that has happened. None of that has come to fruition. So it's all a big lie. The reality is, you guys, your enemy is not halfway around the world. Your enemy locked you down, destroyed family businesses, closed churches, arrested pastors, and abused your children. Your enemy used a virus to potentially rig an election and calls you a domestic terrorist for noticing and pointing it out. Your enemy is here at home, not abroad. And again, remember, this is the zero COVID policy that Fauci, Gates, and Schwab wanted here in the United States. People like Justin Trudeau praise the insane measures that the CCP will enact to bring down COVID case numbers. Like this is lunacy. But this is what your overlords want for you for going into the near future. COVID vaccines and lockdowns worked so well that they had to censor and silence the doctors who questioned them. If you aren't allowed to question the science, then it is not science, it is a cult. I actually had one of my videos the other day taken down by YouTube because I supposedly said conflicting information that didn't align with what the World Health Organization said regarding a particular medical procedure. So now I need to be a little bit more covert with how I phrase things so my videos don't get flagged or taken down. Remember when they said ivermectin was only horse pace and the low IQ anti-science useful idiots clapped like trained government seals? And that's exactly what they did, because had you done just an ounce of research on ivermectin, you would see that it has been used numerous times to treat other various illnesses and diseases. So to just chalk it up to be horse dewormer or horse paste was total bunk science. They were not. They were not. Those claims weren't rooted in science. Is what I'm trying to say. Representative Jim Jordan says, worth asking again, why are American tax dollars ever being used to fund gain of function research at a lab in Wuhan, China? Great question. Hopefully, Dr. Fauci and a few others could provide us with a great answer pertaining to that question, but they probably won't. Probably just deny everything. Canada's Liberal government wants to regulate internet content and deputize social media companies to enforce hate speech bans with a low and murky threshold for what hate speech is. I hope Elon Musk takes a stand against this. Elon Musk comments and said, sounds like an attempt to muzzle the voice of the people of Canada. Yep, and that's what they're trying to do. They're scared that people are learning that the narratives they were told on the TV, they were told by their politicians, that they were told by um, quote unquote experts in the medical field was nothing but a load of horse IT. Great news coming from the real Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki says, Republicans announce investigation into origin of COVID. I'm not a doc, but I always it says we're having some streaming so I'll make this. I'll wrap this up, clip up. Anti-Semitism, homophobia, etc., because it's all connected. Yeah, sure is. I'm not gonna play the clip just because I don't know if the stream will end prematurely, but we're sleepwalking towards central bank digital currencies and digital ID. It is being sold as for our security and convenience when actually it's for their control and powers. I discussed the Together December debate last week. We need more localism and less globalism. Wholeheartedly agree. I would go check out Coin Bureau's video regarding digital IDs. It's very, very informative. Go check it out. Coin Bureau over on YouTube. Guy did a very great detailed video. He's going to be doing a video about Cardano and the latest news with that later today. So go check him out. Give him a subscribe. If you guys enjoyed today's stream, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live next. I will see you guys all tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. Until then,